Abandoned by her husband in public, she vanishes, unaware she would return as the mafia boss floor. The champagne glass slips from my fingers. I watch it fall in slow motion, crystal catching the chandelier light before it shatters against the marble floor of the grand ballroom. But the sound is swallowed by something far worse, the echo of my husband's voice still ringing in my ears. "I never loved you, Elena. You were convenient, nothing more." 300 guests stand frozen around us. The annual charity gala of Manhattan's elite, and I am the entertainment. My husband, no, the man I thought was my husband for 7 years, stands beside a woman half my age, her arm threaded through his like she belongs there, like she has always belonged there. My name is Elena Vasquez, I am 34 years old, and in this moment, I am nothing. The whispers begin like rain against glass, soft at first, then building into a storm I cannot escape. I see phones rising, capturing my humiliation for posterity. Tomorrow this will be everywhere. The internet never forgets, and neither does high society. "Did you really think I would stay with you forever?" Richard continues, his voice carrying across the silent room. "A waitress from Queens who happened to catch my eye at the wrong moment? You were a phase, Elena, a very long, very boring phase." I should say something. I should defend myself, throw wine in his face, walk away with dignity, but my legs refuse to move. My throat closes around words that will not come. 7 years of my life, building a home with this man, believing in his promises, supporting his ambitions. And this is how it ends, in front of everyone. His new companion laughs, a tinkling sound that cuts through me like broken glass. "Richard, darling, you're being cruel. Can't you see she's about to cry?" "Let her," he says. "Maybe she'll finally understand her place." Something breaks inside me then. Not my heart. That shattered the moment. He opened his mouth. Something deeper. Something that has been holding me together through years of subtle criticism, of being made to feel small, of believing I was lucky to have him when he was the one who should have counted his blessings. I turn and walk toward the exit. My heels click against marble, each step a declaration. I will not run. I will not give them that satisfaction, but I will leave, and I will never look back. The November air hits me like a wall of ice as I push through the grand doors of the Metropolitan Club. I have no coat. It was checked with my dignity somewhere inside. I have no phone. It sits in my clutch on the table where I abandoned it. I have nothing but the designer dress Richard insisted I wear and the determination to disappear. I walk. I do not know where. I do not care. The streets of Manhattan blur around me, neon signs and honking taxis and faceless crowds all melting into watercolors of a life I no longer recognize. My feet carry me east, then north, then east again, until the glittering towers give way to darker streets, emptier sidewalks, buildings that watch with shuttered eyes. The cold seeps into my bones. My teeth chatter so violently I fear they might crack. But I cannot stop. If I stop, I will have to think. And if I think, I will have to feel. And right now, feeling anything would destroy me completely. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time has lost all meaning. I find myself standing at the edge of the East River, staring at black water that moves like oil beneath a starless sky. The wind whips my hair across my face, and I realize with distant curiosity that I have been crying. My cheeks are wet and frozen, tracks of salt and sorrow mapping the geography of my grief. A car door slams somewhere behind me. Footsteps approach, slow, measured, deliberate. I should be afraid. This is not a neighborhood for evening strolls, but fear requires the energy to care about survival, and I have none left. Dangerous place to stand alone. The voice is deep, accented slightly, Italian perhaps, or something Mediterranean that has been softened by years in America. I do not turn around. I do not speak. I simply continue staring at the water, wondering if it is as cold as I feel. Most people who come here at this hour are looking for something they should not find. He moves to stand beside me, and I catch his profile in my peripheral vision. Tall, dark hair silvered at the temples, a jaw that could have been carved. From the same marble as the ballroom floor I fled. He wears a coat that costs more than my apartment. My former apartment, I correct myself. since everything I had belonged to Richard. "I'm not looking for anything," I hear myself say. My voice sounds foreign, hollow, like someone speaking through a broken radio. "I already lost it all." He's silent for a long moment. Then he removes his coat and drapes it over my shoulders. The warmth is shocking, almost painful against my frozen skin. It smells of cedar and something darker, more complex. Whiskey, perhaps, or smoke from a fire that burned long ago. "Whatever you lost," he says, "standing in the cold will not bring it back." I finally turn to look at him. His eyes are grey, the colour of storm clouds gathering over the Hudson. There is something in them I do not expect, not pity, not concern, but recognition. As if he has stood in this exact spot, staring at this exact water, asking these exact questions of the void. "How do you—" "No," I whisper. His lips curve into something too sharp to be a smile. "Because I have stood here before, many times, and I am still standing." I do not know why his words reach me when nothing else has. Perhaps it is the cold that has stripped away my defenses. Perhaps it is the strange intimacy of two strangers sharing darkness at the edge of the world. Or perhaps it is simply that I have nothing left to lose, and speaking to this man feels no more dangerous than the silence I was drowning. "He humiliated me," I say. The words tumble out before I can stop them. In front of everyone, 7 years, and he threw me away like garbage. The stranger does not react with surprise or sympathy. He simply nods, as if my story is one he has heard before, in different forms from different broken people standing at different edges. "Men like that," he says quietly, "believe their cruelty makes them powerful. They do not understand that true power lies in what you build, not what you destroy." Something in his tone makes me really look at him for the first time. The expensive clothes, the way he carries himself, like a man who has never questioned his right to occupy any space he chooses. The subtle deference in the way two men wait beside a black car parked at the curb behind us. Bodyguards, I realize with a start. They are bodyguards. "Who are you?" I ask. His grey eyes hold mine. Someone who recognizes strength when he sees it. Strength? I almost laugh. I ran away. From my own life. I have nothing. I am nothing. You walked away from a man who wanted to break you in front of the world. You did not give him the satisfaction of tears until you were alone. And you are still standing, even though everything in you wants to fall. He tilts his head, studying me with an intensity that should make me uncomfortable but somehow does not. That is not nothing. That is everything. A black sedan pulls up behind the first car, and one of the bodyguards approaches to murmur something in the stranger's ear. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. "I have business to attend to," he says, "but I cannot leave you here. I'll be fine." "You will freeze." He gestures toward the waiting car. "Let me take you somewhere warm, a hotel, a friend's house, anywhere that is not the edge of a river at 2 in the morning. Every instinct I have, every warning about strangers and dark nights and cars with tinted windows, screams at me to refuse. But those instincts were built by a woman who had something to protect. I am not that woman anymore. I have nowhere to go, I admit. Everything I had was his. The stranger is silent for a moment. Then he reaches into his pocket and produces a card, thick, cream-colored, embossed with a single address in elegant script. "This is my home," he says. "There is a guest wing that has not been used in years. You may stay there tonight, tomorrow, however long you need to find your footing. No expectations, no obligations. Only warmth and safety." Why would you do that for a stranger? His smile returns, that sharp curve that suggests he knows things about the world that would terrify most people. "Because someone did it for me once, when I was standing where you stand now. And because I have learned that the universe has a way of returning kindness and cruelty in equal measure." He turns and walks toward his car, and I am left holding a piece of paper that feels like either a lifeline or a trap. I do not know which. I do not know anything anymore, but I know that I am cold and alone, and that the water is starting to look less like oblivion and more like invitation, and that terrifies me enough to make my feet move. "Wait," I call out. He pauses at the car door, turning back to look at me. I don't even know your name. Dante, he says. Dante Marchetti. The name means nothing to me in this moment. It will mean everything later, but right now it is simply a sound, a collection of letters that belongs to a stranger who has offered me shelter from the storm I cannot weather alone. I walk toward the car. One of the bodyguards opens the door for me, his face professionally blank. I slide onto leather seats that are heated, enveloping me in warmth that makes my eyes sting with unexpected tears. Dante settles beside me, maintaining a careful distance that somehow feels more protective than proximity. The car begins to move, gliding through midnight streets like a shark through dark water. "Thank you," I whisper. He does not look at me. His gaze is fixed on the passing city, on lights that blur into rivers of gold and white. "Do not thank me yet," he says quietly. "You do not know what you have stepped into." I should ask what he means. I should demand explanations, clarifications, some assurance that I have not traded one nightmare for another. But exhaustion claims me before I can form the words, pulling me under like the river I almost surrendered to. The last thing I see, before darkness takes me, is Dante Marchetti's profile against the glow of Manhattan. Sharp, watchful, beautiful in the way that storms are beautiful just before they swallow everything whole. I do not know it yet, but my life as Elena Vasquez ended on that ballroom floor. The woman who will wake up in a stranger's mansion tomorrow morning will be someone else entirely. Someone stronger, someone dangerous, someone who will make Richard Thornton regret ever opening his mouth. Check if you're already subscribed to this channel, because stories like this, stories of transformation, strength and redemption, are only possible when you're part of our community. Subscribe now, because Elena's journey is just beginning and you don't want to miss what happens next. I wake to silk sheets and morning light filtering through curtains that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. For a disoriented moment, I do not know where I am. The ceiling is too high, the bed too soft, the silence too complete to be the cramped apartment I shared with Richard. Then memory crashes back like a wave against rocks, and I remember everything. I sit up slowly, taking in my surroundings. The guest room is enormous, decorated in shades of cream and pale gold that somehow manage to feel warm rather than cold. Floor-to-ceiling windows offer a view of Manhattan that I have only ever seen in magazines, the kind of view that announces, without apology, that whoever lives here owns a significant portion of the world. On a chair near the door, someone has laid out clothes, soft grey cashmere, simple black trousers, undergarments still wrapped in tissue paper. On the nightstand, a tray holds coffee, fresh fruit, and pastries that smell like they were baked this morning by someone who went to culinary school in Paris. I should feel grateful. I should feel rescued. Instead, I feel the first stirrings of something I thought had died last night. Suspicion, wariness, the instinct that kept me alive through a childhood in a neighborhood where trust could get you hurt. What kind of man invites a strange woman into his home, provides her with designer clothes that fit perfectly, and expects nothing in return? I shower quickly, dress in the provided clothes, and which are unsettlingly exactly my size, and venture out of the room. The hallway beyond is marble and mahogany, lined with art that I suspect belongs in museums rather than private collections. I follow the scent of coffee to a staircase that winds down into an entrance hall the size of my childhood church. A woman waits at the bottom. She is perhaps 60, silver-haired and elegant, with eyes that assess me with the efficiency of someone who has spent decades cataloguing threats. "Mrs. Vasquez," she says. Her accent is crisp British, though something underneath suggests she was not born to it. "Mr. Marchetti hoped you would join him for breakfast. If you'll follow me." "It's Ms.," I correct automatically. "And I never told anyone my name." The woman's expression does not change. "Mr. Marchetti is very thorough in his inquiries. This way, please." She leads me through corridors that seem to multiply like rabbit warrens, past closed doors that guard mysteries I cannot begin to imagine, until we reach a sun-drenched conservatory where Dante Marchetti sits reading a newspaper like something from another century. He looks different in daylight. Younger somehow, though the silver at his temples remains. Less, like a shadow, and more like a man, though a dangerous one. He wears a dark suit that emphasizes shoulders broad enough to carry significant burdens, and when he looks up at my entrance, those storm-grey eyes hold something that might be approval. You slept well, I hope. I slept. I take the chair across from him, accepting the coffee that a silent servant pours without being asked. Now I'd like some answers. His lips curve in that sharp smile I remember from last night. Direct, I appreciate that. You know my name, you know my size. You probably know what Richard said to me word for word. I set down my cup with more force than necessary. So let's skip the part where you pretend to be a mysterious benefactor and tell me what you actually want. Dante folds his newspaper carefully, precisely, giving himself time to construct whatever response he has planned. I recognize the technique. Richard used it constantly, using silence as a weapon to make me feel small. But I am not the woman I was yesterday. That woman shattered on a ballroom floor, and whatever rose from the pieces is sharper, harder, less willing to be manipulated. I want nothing from you, Dante says finally. Not in the way you're imagining. Everyone wants something. True. He meets my gaze directly. What I want is far more complicated than anything you could give me by accident. I want an empire to survive. I want enemies to fall. I want a legacy that outlasts my bones. His voice drops, becoming almost soft. And I want to understand how a woman who lost everything can still look at me like she's ready to fight. I blink, thrown off balance by his honesty. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. He pushes back from the table, rising to his full height. You asked what I want from you specifically? Nothing. You may stay as long as you like, leave whenever you choose. The clothes are yours to keep or burn. The food will continue to appear regardless. You owe me. Nothing, Elena Vasquez. Not your gratitude, not your trust, certainly not your body or your soul. Then why help me? Because you reminded me of someone I loved very much, someone who stood at a similar edge and did not have a stranger to offer her warmth. His jaw tightens. She fell. I have spent 30 years ensuring others do not. The confession lands like a stone in still water, sending ripples through everything I thought I understood about this situation. I see something in his eyes that I recognize. The same grief I carry for the woman I was before Richard hollowed her out. Not pity for me, recognition of a shared wound. I'm sorry, I say. The words feel inadequate, but they are all I have. Do not be. She is the reason I became who I am. He moves toward the windows, gazing out at a city that sprawls beneath his feet like a kingdom awaiting its king. Now, you have two choices. You can walk out that door and return to whatever remains of your life. I will ensure you have enough money to start fresh, somewhere far from Richard Thornton and his cruelty. And the second choice? He turns back to face me, and I see something in his expression that makes my breath catch, not threat, but invitation. The same look a chess master gives a worthy opponent before the first move. The second choice is more dangerous, but also more satisfying. He returns to the table, leaning forward with his hands braced against polished wood. Your husband, former husband, is not simply a cruel man. He is a criminal. His company launders money for people who make even my associates uncomfortable. His new companion is the daughter of a man who has ordered the execution of 17 people in the past year alone. My stomach drops. What? Richard Thornton used you as a shield, Elena. A respectable wife to hide behind while he built an empire of corruption. Your marriage was cover. Your devotion was camouflage. Every charity gala, every society dinner, every photograph of the happy couple, all of it was designed to make him look legitimate while he facilitated the destruction of lives. I want to deny it. I want to believe that the man I married, however cruel he turned out to be, was not capable of such darkness. But even as denial rises in my throat, memory whispers evidence I had refused to see. The phone calls he always took in private, the business trips that left him grey and tense, the way he flinched whenever certain names appeared in the news. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know, and because, he pauses, weighing words carefully, because I believe you may want revenge. The word hangs between us like smoke. Revenge is a dangerous game. It is. But you strike me as a woman who has nothing left to lose and everything to gain. He reaches into his jacket and produces a folder, setting it on the table between us. This contains everything I know about Richard Thornton's operation, his contacts, his weaknesses, his crimes. I stare at the folder like it might grow teeth and bite me. Why would you have this? Because Richard's associates are my competition. Because the man whose daughter now hangs on your husband's arm tried to have me executed 6 months ago. Because in my world information is the most valuable currency, and I have been collecting it for years. His eyes meet mine. And because watching a woman destroy the man who humiliated her would bring me more satisfaction than you can possibly imagine. I should walk away. I should take his money, find a small apartment somewhere warm, rebuild a quiet life, far from marble mansions and criminal empires. That would be the sensible choice, the safe choice. But safety is what I had with Richard, the illusion of it anyway. And it led me to a ballroom floor covered in the wreckage of everything I believed. Safety is a lie, that powerful men tell powerless women to keep them compliant. I am done being compliant. What would I have to do? Dante's smile widens, revealing teeth that gleam like a wolf's in the morning light. Nothing you are not capable of. Richard underestimated you. His associates underestimate all women. That is their weakness, and it will be their downfall. You still haven't told me what you get out of this. I told you. Satisfaction. And perhaps... He hesitates, and for the first time, I see something uncertain in his expression. Perhaps the pleasure of watching you become who you were always meant to be, before Richard Thornton convinced you that you were small. The words hit somewhere deep, in a place I have protected with walls and armor, and years of smiling when I wanted to scream. Because he is right. I was someone before Richard, someone fierce and ambitious and unafraid, someone who clawed her way out of poverty through scholarships and determination and sheer force of will. That woman did not die on a ballroom floor. She was buried alive under 7 years of a marriage designed to suffocate her. And now, for the first time since I cannot remember when, she is starting to breathe. I want to see the folder, I say. Dante slides it toward me. Take your time. There is no pressure, no deadline. If you decide this is not your path, I will still help you disappear. And if I decide it is? His eyes hold mine, and I see in them a reflection of my own hunger, for justice, for power, for the sweet satisfaction of making those who hurt us pay. Then we begin your education. I open the folder. Inside are photographs, documents, bank statements, names that mean nothing to me yet, but will soon become the vocabulary of my new existence. I see Richard's face smiling out of corporate headshots, see the woman who replaced me draped in diamonds that were probably purchased with dirty money, and I see something else, a photograph of a young girl, perhaps 5 years old, with dark curls and grey eyes that look hauntingly familiar. Who is this? Dante's expression shifts, closing like a door. My daughter. She was taken 3 years ago by the same men your husband works with. That photograph is the last image I have of her. The revelation transforms everything I thought I understood. This is not just about business or territory or criminal empire. This is about a father searching for his child, about wounds that never heal and justice that cannot wait. I'm sorry, I say again, and this time the words carry weight I did not have before. Her name is Sophia. His voice is barely a whisper. And finding her is the reason I cannot simply destroy Richard Thornton and his associates directly. They know things. They have information I need. And they would sooner let her disappear forever than give me what I want. I look at the photograph again. A little girl with curls and grey eyes, frozen in a moment of joy that someone stole from her father, from the world. Then we find her, I hear myself say. We find her, and we destroy them. And we build something better from the ashes. Dante stares at me as if I have spoken in a language he did not expect me to know. You would do that? For a child you have never met? For a man you barely know? I would do it for her, because she deserves to come home. I close the folder, decision crystallizing like ice in my veins. And because the men who took her are the same men who used me, and I am very, very tired of being used. For a long moment, Dante says nothing. Then he extends his hand, across the table, formal as a contract, binding as blood. Then welcome, Elena Vasquez, to a world you never knew existed. Your education begins today. I take his hand. His grip is firm, but not crushing, warm, but not possessive. It feels like a promise and a warning wrapped in flesh and bone. I do not know what I have agreed to. I do not know how deep this rabbit hole goes or what monsters wait in its darkness. But I know that for the first time in 7 years, I feel alive. And that is worth any danger that comes next. 3 weeks pass like 3 lifetimes. Dante's education is thorough, relentless, and far more comprehensive than I expected. Each morning I wake at dawn to train with a woman named Isabella, who teaches me to move through the world like a threat, rather than a target. Each afternoon I study with advisors, who explain the intricate web of alliances and enemies that comprise Dante's world. Each evening I sit with Dante himself, learning to read people the way he reads. Them, not just their words but their silences, not just their faces but their hands, their posture, the 1,000 small betrayals that bodies make when minds are lying. I learn that Dante Marchetti is one of the most powerful men on the eastern seaboard. I learn that his organization controls shipping, construction, and a significant portion of the legitimate businesses that keep Manhattan running. I learn that he is feared and respected in equal measure, and that his reputation for fairness is matched only by his reputation for merciless precision when crossed. I learn that Richard Thornton is a small fish who made the mistake of swimming in very large waters. His money laundering operation serves a cartel based in a country I have never visited, run by a man named Carlos Medina, whose daughter, the woman Richard paraded in front of me at the gala, is less a trophy girlfriend and more a handler ensuring Richard stays useful. And I learn that Sophia Marchetti was taken as leverage against her father, hidden somewhere in a network so complex that even Dante's vast resources have been unable to locate her. The men who have her do not want ransom. They want Dante to destroy himself, to make a mistake that will bring his empire crashing down and leave them free to claim what he built. The most dangerous prisons have no walls, Dante tells me one evening as we sit in his study, surrounded by maps and photographs and intelligence reports. They want me to know she is alive. They send proof occasionally, a photograph, a recording, just enough to ensure I cannot move against them without risking her life. There has to be a way to find her. There is, but it requires something I cannot obtain alone. He pushes a photograph across the desk. It shows a man I recognize, one of Richard's frequent dinner companions, a supposed investor named Marcus Webb. This man is Medina's accountant. He knows where every dollar goes, which means he knows where Sophia is being kept, but he trusts no one outside Medina's inner circle. So we need someone inside the circle. Dante's eyes meet mine. We need someone they would never suspect, someone who has reason to hate Richard Thornton and every reason to want access to his world, someone who could walk back into that society as if nothing had happened and make them believe she is broken enough to be controllable. The realization settles over me like cold water. You want me to go back. I want you to consider it. The choice, as always, is yours. I think about what he is asking. Return to the world that destroyed me. Smile at the people who watched my humiliation and did nothing. Pretend to be desperate and defeated while gathering the information we need to bring them all down. It would require becoming someone I am not, or perhaps becoming someone I was always meant to be. The girl from Queens who learned to survive by becoming invisible, by reading rooms and telling people what they wanted to hear. If I do this, I say slowly, I need to know you'll have my back, that if things go wrong you won't leave me to face them alone. Elena. Dante leans forward, and I see in his face something I have not seen before. Vulnerability, carefully controlled but unmistakable. If anything happened to you, I would raze that world to the ground and salt the earth behind me. You have my word. I believe him, not because he has given me reason to. Trust built on 3 weeks is fragile at best, but because I see in his eyes the same fierce protectiveness he must feel for Sophia. Somehow, in this short time, I have become someone he cares about, someone he would fight for. Then I'll do it. His hand covers mine on the desk, warm and steady. You are braver than you know. I'm terrified, I admit. Good, Fear keeps you sharp. He releases my hand, all business again. We have 2 weeks to prepare. Richard is hosting a benefit for his foundation. Ironic, given what his foundation actually does. And, you will attend as my guest. Won't that raise suspicions, you and I arriving together? That is precisely the point. I want them suspicious. I want them so focused on trying to understand our connection that they miss what you are actually doing. His smile is sharp and satisfied. While they watch me, you will watch them, and by the end of the evening, we will know exactly who to target. The plan takes shape over the following days, intricate as clockwork, dangerous as dancing on ice. I will attend the benefit on Dante's arm, publicly announcing our connection in a way that will make Richard furious and his associates nervous. I will let them see me as a woman scorned who has found a new protector, dangerous enough to warrant attention, but not threatening enough to warrant elimination. And while they focus on Dante, I will work my way toward Marcus Webb. The night of the benefit arrives cold and clear. I stand in front of a mirror in Dante's mansion, barely recognizing the woman who stares back at me. The dress is midnight blue, designed to command attention without demanding it. My hair is swept up, exposing the line of my neck in a way that makes me feel both vulnerable and powerful. Diamond earrings, borrowed from Dante's collection of beautiful things, catch the light with every movement. You look like someone who could destroy empires, Dante says from the doorway. I turn to face him and feel my breath catch. He wears a tuxedo as if it were armor, every line precise, every detail perfect. But it is his eyes that hold me, storm grey and fierce, looking at me like I am something worth protecting. Ready? He asks. No. I pick up my clutch, the weight of hidden equipment reassuring against my palm. But that's never stopped me before. The drive to the venue is silent, charged with anticipation. Dante's hand rests near mine on the seat between us, not touching but close enough that I can feel his warmth. It should be professional. It should be purely strategic. But somewhere in the past 3 weeks, something has shifted between us, a current running beneath the surface that neither of us has acknowledged. The benefit is held in a museum that has been transformed into a glittering wonderland. Crystal chandeliers scatter light across faces I recognize from magazine covers and news reports. The champagne flows like water, and the conversation buzzes with the kind of empty pleasantries that mask darker dealings. I feel eyes on us the moment we enter. Dante's hand settles on the small of my back, possessive and protective, and the whispers begin immediately. Elena Vasquez, risen from the ashes of her public humiliation to arrive on the arm of one of the most dangerous men in the city. The story writes itself, and I can see people already composing their gossip. Richard is at 2 o'clock, Dante murmurs in my ear. He looks appropriately horrified. I allow myself a glance in that direction and find my former husband staring at me with an expression caught between fury and fear. His new companion clings to his arm, her face a mask of calculated indifference, but I see her eyes dart between Dante and me, calculating, assessing. Good, I say. Let him be horrified. We move through the room like we own it, Dante introducing me to people whose names I memorize and file away for later analysis. Every handshake, every smile, every casual comment is catalogued in my mind, building a map of relationships and weaknesses. And then I see him, Marcus Webb, standing near the bar, nursing a drink and watching the room with the careful attention of someone who trusts no one. Our eyes meet for a moment, and I see curiosity flicker across his face. Go, Dante murmurs. I'll create a distraction. He releases me and moves toward a cluster of businessmen who immediately vie for his attention. I make my way toward the bar, each step careful, deliberate, aware that this moment will determine everything that comes next. Ms. Vasquez. Marcus Webb's voice is smoother than I expected, educated and careful. I did not expect to see you here tonight. Neither did I. I accept the champagne that appears before me, taking a sip to steady my nerves. Life takes unexpected turns. So I see. His eyes flicker to where Dante holds court. Quite the turn you've taken. Sometimes the only way forward is through fire. I meet his gaze directly. You seem like someone who understands that. Something shifts in his expression, interest perhaps, or recognition of a kindred spirit. Perhaps I do. We talk for nearly an hour. I listen more than I speak, asking questions that seem innocent, but map the landscape of his loyalties and fears. I learn that he is tired. I learn that he entered this world for money but stays because leaving is not an option. I learn that he has a daughter of his own, currently studying abroad, far from the danger he navigates daily. And I learn that he is afraid. Not of Dante, not of Medina, but of something closer to home. Someone within the organization who has been making threats, pushing boundaries, destabilizing the careful balance that keeps everyone alive. By the time the evening ends, I have planted seeds that will bloom into something useful. Marcus Webb sees me not as a threat, but as a potential ally. Someone else trapped in a world not of her choosing, looking for a way out. It is the beginning, only the beginning. But as Dante escorts me back to the car, his hand steady on my back, I feel something I had forgotten was possible. Hope. Right now I need you to do something for me. If you're feeling this story, if Elena's journey is hitting you somewhere deep, then leave a comment saying, "She's not running anymore." Because that's what this moment is about, the moment we stop running from our pain and start running toward our power. 6 weeks after the benefit, everything changes. I have been meeting with Marcus Webb regularly now, always in public. Places, always under the guise of someone rebuilding her life after public disgrace. We have coffee in quiet cafes, discuss art at gallery openings, share lunches where I pretend to seek his advice on investment opportunities. Each conversation peels back another layer of the organization's secrets. Each meeting brings me closer to the information we need. Dante and I have grown closer too, in ways I did not anticipate and cannot fully explain. There are moments when I catch him watching me with something tender in his storm-grey eyes, moments when his hand lingers on mine longer than necessary, moments when the air between us feels charged with possibilities neither of us has voiced. But we cannot afford distraction. Not yet. Not until Sophia is found, and the men who took her are brought to justice. It is a Tuesday afternoon when Marcus finally trusts me enough to share the information I have been seeking. We sit in a small restaurant in Brooklyn, far from the glittering world where we first met. Marcus looks tired, older than his years, burdened by secrets that weigh more than anyone should carry alone. "There's a house," he says quietly, not looking at me. "Upstate, near the Canadian border. It's where they keep the people they can't kill, but need to control." My heart pounds so loudly I'm certain he can hear it. People like Sophia Marchetti. His eyes snap to mine, sharp with fear. "You know about her?" "I know a father is looking for his daughter. I know that men who take children deserve whatever punishment finds them." I lean forward, lowering my voice. "I know you have a daughter too, Marcus. One you sent far away because you were afraid of what might happen if she stayed." His face crumples, years of carefully maintained control shattering in an instant. "They threatened her. Medina's people. They said if I ever betrayed them, they would take her the way they took the Marchetti girl. Then help me stop them. Give me the address, the layout, the security. Details. Let me end this so you can be free. If they find out, they won't." I reach across the table and take his hand, feeling the tremor of fear that runs through him. "I swear to you, Marcus, they will never know where this came from, and when it's over I will ensure you and your daughter are protected." The war in his eyes lasts an eternity compressed into seconds. Then he reaches into his jacket and produces a thumb drive, sliding it across the table like a grenade with the pin pulled. Everything is on there. Maps, schedules, personnel. But Elena... He grips my hand tight. "Be careful. These men are not like Richard. They will not hesitate to kill anyone who threatens their operation." "I know." I slip the drive into my purse, feeling its weight like a promise. "Thank you, Marcus." He shakes his head. "Don't thank me yet. Thank me when that little girl is home with her father." I leave the restaurant and walk 3 blocks before ducking into an alley where one of Dante's cars waits. The driver says nothing as I slide into the back seat, and within minutes we are speeding toward the mansion, toward the moment Everything has been building to. Dante is waiting for me in his study. The moment he sees my face, he knows. You have it. I hand him the drive. Everything we need. He inserts it into his computer, and together we watch the information unfold. Maps of a compound deep in the Adirondacks. Satellite images showing buildings, guard rotations, security, systems. Personnel files for the men who staff it, their weaknesses catalogued in clinical detail. And then, a photograph. A recent one, taken perhaps days ago. Sophia Marchetti, now 8 years old, sitting in a sparse room reading a book. She is thinner than the photograph I saw in the folder, paler, but her eyes hold the same quiet fire as her father's. Dante's hand shakes as he reaches toward the screen. I see moisture gathering in his eyes, see 3 years of agony rising to the surface like pressure finally finding release. She's alive, he whispers. We're going to bring her home. He turns to face me, and before I can react, his arms are around me, pulling me close in an embrace that speaks of gratitude and relief, and something deeper I am not ready to name. I hold him back, feeling his heart pound against mine, feeling the walls between us crumble into dust. Thank you, he says against my hair. Thank you, Elena. Don't thank me yet. I pull back to meet his eyes. Thank me. When she's safe. His smile is different now, not sharp but soft, vulnerable in a way I suspect few people ever see. Whatever happens after this, he says, know that you have changed everything. My life, my heart, everything. The words hang between us, heavy with meaning neither of us is ready to fully acknowledge. There will be time for that later, after the battle is won. For now, we have work to do. The plan comes together over the following days. Dante's most trusted men are briefed on the operation. Equipment is gathered, routes are mapped, contingencies are prepared. I insist on being part of the rescue team, and after hours of argument, Dante finally relents. If anything happens to you, I know. I touch his face, feeling the roughness of stubble beneath my fingers. But I need to see this through. For Sophia, for you, for myself. He covers my hand with his own, pressing it against his cheek. Then we go together. The night of the operation arrives cold and moonless. Our convoy moves through darkness like shadows given form, north through sleeping towns and empty highways, toward a compound that holds everything we have been fighting for. I sit beside Dante in the lead vehicle, both of us armed, both of us silent, both of us preparing for what lies ahead. The tension is thick enough to taste, but beneath it runs something else. Anticipation, determination, the fierce joy of finally being able to act after so long waiting. The compound appears in the distance, a cluster of lights against the black canvas of the mountains. We stop a mile out, moving the rest of the way on foot through forest that swallows sound and light alike. Isabella leads the first team toward the perimeter, her movements fluid as water. I follow Dante's team toward the main building, heart pounding, senses sharp, every nerve alive with purpose. The guards fall quickly, silently, their bodies lowered to the ground before they can raise an alarm. We move through corridors. That smell of concrete and fear, following the maps burned into our memories toward the room where a little girl waits to be rescued. A door, reinforced steel, with a lock that would take hours to break through conventional means. But Dante's tech specialist has prepared for this, and within moments the lock clicks open. The room beyond is small and sparse, exactly as the photograph showed. And there, sitting on a narrow bed with a book clutched in her hands, is Sophia Marchetti. She looks up as we enter, and I see fear flash across her face before recognition dawns. Her father. Her father has finally come. Papa. Dante crosses the room in 3 strides, dropping to his knees beside the bed and gathering his daughter in his arms. The sound he makes is not quite human, a mix of joy and grief and 3 years of desperate hope finally fulfilled. I'm here, my love. Papa's here. You're safe now. I've got you. I've got you. Sophia clings to him, her small body shaking with emotions too big for her to contain. I stand guard at the door, tears streaming down my face, watching the moment I helped make possible. But the celebration is short-lived. An alarm begins to wail, piercing the silence, announcing that our presence has been discovered. "Time to move," Isabella's voice crackles through the earpiece. "We have incoming." Dante rises, lifting Sophia into his arms like she weighs nothing. "Stay close to me," he tells her. "Whatever happens, do not let go." We run. The compound erupts, into chaos around us. Gunfire echoes through corridors, shouts in multiple languages, the thunder of boots on concrete. Isabella's team provides cover while we make for the extraction point, moving fast but not fast enough. A man appears in our path, weapon raised. Before I can react, my training takes over. The moves Isabella taught me flow without thought, disarming him, sending him to the ground. Dante looks at me with something like wonder. "Remind me never to underestimate you." Later. Keep moving. We burst through an exterior door into the cold night air. The convoy is waiting, engines running, ready to carry us to safety. I push Sophia and Dante toward the lead vehicle, turning to cover their retreat. That is when I see him. Richard Thornton, standing at the edge of the compound, a weapon in his hand, aimed directly at Dante's back. There is no time to think. No time to plan. I throw myself into the path of fire just as the shot rings out. Pain explodes through my shoulder, hot and bright and all-consuming. I hear Dante scream my name, hear Sophia cry out in terror, hear the chaos of return fire as Richard is cut down by Dante's men. But I hear it all from very far away, because darkness is closing in from the edges, and the ground is rising up to meet me. And the last thing I see before unconsciousness claims me is Dante's face. Storm-grey eyes wide with fear, with grief, with something that looks remarkably like love. Then nothing. I wake to the sound of machines, and the smell of antiseptic. For a disorienting moment, I am back in the hospital after a childhood accident, my mother holding my hand and telling me everything will be okay. But then I feel the weight of adult years settling back over me, and I remember. The compound, the rescue, the shot. My eyes flutter open to find Dante Marchetti asleep in a chair beside my bed, his hand wrapped around mine, even in unconsciousness. He looks terrible, unshaven, clothes wrinkled, dark circles beneath his eyes that speak of too many hours without sleep. "You stayed," I whisper. His eyes snap open instantly, and the relief that floods his face is almost painful to witness. "You're awake." "How long?" 3 days. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, but His voice breaks. I was afraid. I squeeze his hand as tightly as my weakened grip allows. "I'm okay. You could have died." The words come out rough, torn from somewhere deep. "You stepped in front of a shot meant for me. Why would you do that?" "Because Sophia needs her father." My shoulder throbs with every heartbeat, but I ignore it. "Because you needed to survive." "And what about what I need?" He rises from the chair, pacing the small room like a caged animal. "What about the fact that watching you fall nearly destroyed me? What about the fact that these past 3 days have been the worst of my life, and that includes every day Sophia was missing?" His words land like stones, rippling through everything I thought I understood about our relationship. This is not the gratitude of a man whose business partner took a risk. This is something far more personal, far more dangerous. "Dante!" He stops pacing and turns to face me, and I see his walls crumble completely. "I love you, Elena. I have loved you since the night I found you standing at the edge of that river, ready to fall but still fighting. I loved you through every moment of your education, through every dinner where I pretended my interest was professional, through every second of watching you become the woman you were always meant to be. You never said anything. There was never the right time. First the mission, then Sophia, then the recovery. But standing in this hospital, not knowing if you would wake up, I realized that there may never be a right time, and I would rather tell you now and risk losing you than stay silent and lose the chance forever." I stare at him, this powerful man brought to his knees by fear and hope. I think about everything we have been through, The rescue, the revelations, the quiet moments of connection that built something I was too afraid to name. "Come here," I say. He approaches the bed slowly, as if afraid I might disappear. I reach up with my good arm and pull him down until his forehead rests against mine. "I love you too," I whisper. "I think I have since that first night, when you offered me warmth without expecting anything in return." His kiss is gentle, mindful of my injuries, but beneath the tenderness I feel the same desperate hunger that burns in my own heart. We have both been alone for so long, both built walls to protect wounds that never fully healed. And now, somehow, we have found each other in the wreckage of our lives. "Get better," he murmurs against my lips. "There is a lifetime waiting for us, and I refuse to let you miss it." I smile, feeling something I had forgotten was possible. Not just hope, joy. The fierce, unexpected joy of finding love in the most unlikely of places. "What happened to Richard?" Dante's expression darkens. "He did not survive the night. And Medina?" Being dismantled as we speak, Marcus Webb's information has provided everything authorities need to bring down his entire organization. It will take time, but the empire that took my daughter is crumbling. "Sophia?" His smile returns, soft and warm. "Recovering. She asks about you constantly, calls you the warrior princess who helped Papa find her." "Warrior princess." I laugh, then wince as the movement pulls at my shoulder. "I like that. Rest now." He settles back into the chair but does not release my hand. "The doctors say you will make a full recovery, but it will take time. Will you stay? I will never leave your side again." It is a promise, I believe. Not because I am naive, not because I have forgotten how dangerous his world can be, but because I have seen the truth in his eyes, felt it in his touch, witnessed it in the way he looks at me like I am something precious beyond measure. I close my eyes, letting exhaustion pull me back towards sleep, but this time the darkness holds no fear, only rest and healing and the promise of tomorrow. When I wake again, Sophia Marchetti is sitting at the foot of my bed, watching me with curious grey eyes so like her father's. "You're the lady who helped Papa find me," she says solemnly. "I am." "He says you're very brave, that you got hurt protecting him." I glance at Dante, who watches from the doorway with an expression of quiet contentment. "Your Papa is very important to many people," I tell her, "and now he's important to me." Sophia considers this for a moment. Then she crawls up the bed, careful of tubes and bandages, and settles herself against my uninjured side. "Papa says you might stay with us forever," she whispers. "Would you like that?" I look at this child who has survived so much, who still finds it in herself to trust and hope. I look at her father, whose eyes hold promises that words cannot capture. I look at the life I never imagined, waiting just beyond the hospital walls. "Yes," I say, "I would like that very much." Dante crosses the room and sits on my other side, his arms settling around both of us, creating a circle of warmth and protection that feels like coming home. "My two warriors," he murmurs. "What did I do to deserve you?" "You were kind to a stranger on the darkest night of her life," I tell him. Everything else followed from that. He kisses my forehead, then Sophia's, and I feel the last of my old life fall away like leaves in autumn. Elena Vasquez, the woman who was publicly humiliated and abandoned, is gone. In her place is someone new, someone stronger, braver, loved beyond measure. The days that follow blur into weeks of recovery and rehabilitation. My shoulder heals slowly but steadily, and I grow stronger with each passing day. Dante never leaves me for long, and Sophia becomes my shadow, filling my hospital room with drawings and stories and the bright chatter of a child rediscovering joy. Marcus Webb, true to my promise, is given new identities for himself and his daughter. They disappear into witness protection, far from the men who once held their fates in cruel hands. He sends me a single message before he vanishes. "Thank you for everything. The authorities move against Medina's organization with methodical precision. Arrests make headlines. Empires crumble. The world I helped expose falls apart piece by piece, and with each development, the debt I carry for the woman I was lightens a little more. Finally, the day comes when the doctors declare me well enough to leave. Dante arrives with flowers, and Sophia arrives with balloons, and together they wheel me out of the hospital into sunshine that feels like absolution. The car that waits is not the sleek black sedan of our first meeting. It is a family vehicle, practical and warm, with a car seat installed in the back for Sophia and room for the life we are building together. "Welcome home," Dante says as we pull up to his mansion. No, our mansion now, our home. I look at the marble and mahogany, at the art and the gardens and the staff who wait with genuine smiles to welcome me. I look at the man beside me, whose love has transformed my grief into something golden. I look at the child who bounces between us, already calling me her warrior princess and asking when she can start training too. I think about the woman I was a year ago. Broken, abandoned, standing at the edge of a river with nothing left to lose. I think about the journey that brought me here, through darkness and danger, and the fierce alchemy of survival. And I smile. I'm home. 1 year later. The garden of the Marchetti estate is transformed into a wonderland of white flowers and golden light. 300 guests sit in elegant rows, watching as Sophia walks down the aisle, scattering petals from a basket, her grey eyes shining with excitement. I stand at the altar beside Dante, wearing a gown that catches the evening light like captured stars. His hand is steady in mine, his smile soft and sure, his eyes holding all the promises of our future. "We are gathered here today," the officiant begins, "to witness the union of two souls who found each other in the darkness and chose to walk together toward the light." I think about those words as Dante and I exchange vows we wrote ourselves, words of love and partnership, of protection and devotion, of the family we have built from the wreckage of lives that no longer serve us. "I vow to love you," Dante says, his voice rough with emotion, in strength and in weakness, in joy and in sorrow. "I vow to protect you, not because you are fragile, but because you are precious. I vow to honor the warrior in you, the mother in you, the partner in you, today and always." "I vow to love you," I respond, tears streaming down my face. "Not despite your darkness, but because of how you have transformed it into light. I vow to walk beside you, not behind you. I vow to build a life with you and our daughter that honors the pain we survived and the joy we found, today and always." The rings are exchanged, the kiss is long and sweet, and when we turn to face our guests as husband and wife, the applause that rises feels like the world itself, celebrating our victory. The reception spills through the mansion and into the gardens, a celebration of light and laughter and new beginnings. I dance with Dante, with Sophia, with Marcus's daughter who has flown in from her new life to witness this moment. I smile until my face aches and cry until I have no tears left. And when the evening finally winds down, when the guests have departed and Sophia has been carried to bed by her devoted father, I find myself standing on the balcony overlooking the river that curves past our property. Dante joins me, wrapping his arms around me from behind and resting his chin on my shoulder. "What are you thinking?" he asks. "I'm thinking about the woman I was a year ago, standing at a different river's edge, ready to fall." "And now?" I turn in his arms, looking up at the face of the man who saved me. Not by rescuing me, but by believing I could rescue myself. Now I'm ready to fly. He kisses me under stars that scatter like diamonds across the dark canvas of the sky, and I know, with absolute certainty, that this is where my story was always meant to lead, not to ruin, not to grief, but to this moment, this man, this life we have built, from the ashes of everything we lost. Abandoned by her husband in public, she vanished, unaware she would return as the mafia boss Floor. His only weakness, his greatest strength, his forever. If you've watched this far, it's because you liked this story. Leave a comment saying, "I've watched this far so I can get to know you and see who really enjoys the stories here on the channel." And if this story touched your heart, if Elena's journey from shattered to unstoppable moved you, then please, subscribe to this channel and ring the notification bell so you never miss another story of transformation and redemption. Leave a like if this story reminded you that even in our darkest moments, we have the strength to rise. And share this video with someone who needs to hear that their story isn't over, that their greatest chapter might just be beginning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this community of dreamers and survivors. Until next time, remember, you are stronger than you know, braver than you believe, and worthy of every love story you have ever dreamed. This is Elena's story. But somewhere out there, your story is waiting to be written. Make it magnificent.